There's Nancy.
There's Nancy. So we're only
So
missing one.
I haven't heard from Peggy other than getting her report that.
Right.
Oh, we see you, Joan.
I see you
see
too.
you.
There you are.
I lost you for a minute. I don't know what happened.
Mm.
Well, I lost internet for a full week because I had to have Comcast lay a new underground line.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it was painful.
And then I think we have a guest.
At least one. I just got a note from Peggy saying she's just going to be a little late. Her daughter has a flat tire.
Yes.
I didn't know those things still happened.
Why don't we wait a couple more minutes, and unless there's an objection, why don't we start? And then we'll just assume that we'll pick up Nancy.
You mean
Nancy's
Peggy?
here.
I'm sorry, not
Nancy's
Nancy,
here.
Peggy.
Yep, John, Peggy just said she'd be a few minutes late to not wait.
Oh, not to wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Nancy, anything happened at the Housing Authority meeting this afternoon?
Besides them chewing me up and spitting me out, no.
Aw,
Why
So
did they-
I left the meeting early because of getting on this meeting, but they never discussed anything before I left about any of the redevelopment or nothing. And
Okay.
that's typical for every month. So unless one of us, not me, please, is on the meeting, they're not going to talk about it.
Let's do this. Why don't we hold off on that, Nancy? Because I know you're sort of giving a coming attraction, because one of the items that we could discuss is your meeting with me and Chris with residents of the Housing Authority that we had after our last meeting. We just give a snapshot to folks who are on this call. Why don't we
Okay.
do this then? Why don't we start the meeting? Why don't we call to order the meeting of the Manchester Affordable Housing Trust of May 19th. We're not recording this, right, Sue?
Sue's muted.
sorry. Yes, it's automatically recorded.
Okay, so then we'll call to order the May 19th, 2021 meeting of the Manchester Affordable Housing Trust, by virtue of us having a quorum. And in attendance is this speaker here, John Feuerbach, and I want to introduce others. Go ahead, Sarah.
Sarah Mellish.
Chris
John
Solomon,
McDonald. Oops.
and there's Nancy.
Nancy Hammond?
And then we have Joan McDonald.
Oh, sorry. I said it at the same time that Chris did.
And Joan. So we have 5 of our 7 members on this. We have issued an agenda that has been posted. And so we've got a call to order. Why don't we, administrative? Do we have a second, or do we have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting, April 21st, 2021?
So moved, Sarah.
Do you have a second?
Second, Nancy.
All approved. Great. Let's go to technical.
No, we need a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought we had.
You got a
We have a
motion.
motion and a
second.
second. We needed a vote.
So I'm a little rusty here now. So then it would be a motion to, is it a motion to approve, or what is it? A vote?
Yes, we did that.
Call-
And
call
you
for-
got it.
A
All
call
in
to
Call for a vote. Yep.
vote.
We just need everyone to say yes.
I see.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we all say yes.
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 All in favor. Great. Thank you very much. I'm only drinking tea here.
Yeah, right. I see
Pour
the
yourself
tea bag
You
sign.
know, at the
Pour
old
yourself
David
a bunch.
Letterman, I don't know if you ever watched David Letterman, he always had his cup of tea. So
You were never sure what was in it, right?
so we think. Yeah. All right. So then why don't we go to a technical assistance hours and tasks that Sue Brown, town planner, who represents the Manchester Affordable Housing Trust in matters sent out to folks as part of the agenda. Sue, do you have any comment on that, please?
Well, 4.5 hours a week. We bumped up my hours a little bit, mostly due with correspondence regarding Bev's report and coordinating that. And then also the MOU. I was helping with that. And that's about it. All the other typical stuff, just meetings and meeting prep and coordination.
Comments and
Happy
questions?
to answer any
from
questions.
Trust members?
I'm good.
Good too.
I will continue to say, I think, Sue, the work that you do for us and the hours that you bill is one of the great deals that we have going on here, and I appreciate your help and support.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Joan, have you had any action recently?
Yeah.
Any business?
Yeah, just a few little, deposits and withdrawals and, but the bottom line is, as of today, we have $601,000, $796.66. And all kidding aside, it
I'm
was
sorry, 601?
601,796.66. It was an amazing month of, actually just a few weeks in April of activity in the account. And we wired out the balance that was owed to, or that we collected, which was, we wired that out on Friday. It was $414,535. And that went to the attorneys who were closing the deal for CMA, or for North Shore CDC. So our account is, we have $775 in the account that will go to North Shore CDC, late deposits, late donations that came in. In fact, I got some today. So I don't know how long they'll continue to trickle in. I understand there are only a few outstanding donations, but we'll get that to them probably by check at the end of the month. So anyway, so everything's in good shape. We are in very good shape. I feel confident. I've been through sort of an audit with the treasurer's department, the town treasurer. So everything balanced out, every penny was accounted for, and I was quite relieved that it's over.
On the following item on the agenda is the update on the Powder House Lane project. We could talk a little bit more about, Joan, what you've done, what I've done in terms of documents and in terms of next steps.
Okay.
Regarding the acknowledgement letter, et cetera, et cetera. Is there anything else on the treasurer report itself? After moving funds out to North Shore CDC, it's sort of like what's moving in, moving out. Our balance is 601,796.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay.
0.66.
6.66, right? Six.
All right.
Well done, Joan. That was a big task.
Well done. Definitely.
Thank you. It was more like I felt at the beginning like I wasn't going to be able to keep it all together, and I did have some great help at Town Hall and you guys and all of that. So thanks.
And then again, in a moment, we can talk about what are the next steps and
Great.
perhaps how we could provide you support, et cetera, et cetera. Great. Thank you very much. The Dementia, our rental and mortgage relief program is next on the agenda. Peggy, who is the Executive Director of Action Inc., who is administering it, is not here with us at this point in time. So how about if I just take the liberty of summarizing briefly what she sent out, and I know Sue passed it along in the agenda just the other day. As of the 17th of May, they've committed $94,386 to clients who have engaged Action Inc. And she mentioned that the average assistance is approximately $5,500 per client. Total of 29 households. 17 have received payment or have been approved to receive payment. One client is currently in the application process. 5 clients were deemed ineligible. I don't know what the reasons. Oh, there's Peggy right now. Peggy, are you with us?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
I was just summarizing your update. I don't know if it's
John, I'm sorry, I think you were updating the wrong one.
No, it's what we
No?
got.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
let's
I'm
see.
so sorry. I thought I saw some different numbers. I beg your pardon. Go ahead.
I was almost done with the summary, Peggy. I was just saying that of the 29 households, 17 clients have been approved, received payment, or been approved to receive payment. 1 is in the application process. 5 were deemed ineligible. I don't know what the reasons are. I don't know if it's worth discussing, if it's relevant, and that's something we should be aware of. And then 6 clients didn't follow up or were determined that they no longer needed assistance. And then of the 29 applicants, you indicated that 3 were homeowners seeking mortgage assistance.
Yeah, there's nothing, let me just pull it up. There's nothing majorly different to report. Just look at the one I sent, make sure I look at the proper one. I think it seems like it's kind of slowed down a little. But I think the thing that was interesting was the range of assistance, dollar amount wise. Let me just pull it up here.
Yeah, 314 to 10,000.
Yeah, so it really did vary depending on people's, unique situation. But it has been really helpful and kept people housed during all of this. So, there's nothing majorly different to report this month from last month.
Do we have an opportunity to adjust the cap above the 10,000, or is that state things imposing on us?
I don't think it was, I think it was more we just sort of chose that number. I don't think we,
Affordable Housing Trust, I think we
yeah, I don't think there was any restriction on that, but I mean, it seems to have been sufficient for most people. I can check back with Cheryl.
Just curious as to how many have hit the 10,000.
Okay.
Just, I mean, 10,000, if you're short 1,000 a month, you're way over 10,000.
Right. Yeah, just with what people pay in rents,
Yeah.
Well, that's my concern.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, I'll check with her.
And I'm assuming the mortgage assistance piece does not take real estate taxes into consideration. It's strictly the mortgage payments.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea there too was that there are some folks that are, house poor, they have a home, but they're kind of barely holding on. And
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just in general, there's been a huge demand, across our region for rental and mortgage assistance. But I think, like I've said before, Manchester got out early in front on that. So I feel like some other towns are catching up a little bit now. So there's more of a backlog with some folks, but the money's being spent down across the board in every community we're serving. And we actually raised another set of funds from a private foundation for like towns that weren't covered by municipal efforts like this, or people that had some anomaly that made them ineligible, but still qualified on all the other fronts, just so that we could make up the gap. So that's been helpful too.
Awesome.
And people who are ineligible, you're just looking at loss of income due to COVID, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I think based on Affordable Housing Trust action, we extended the program to, was it September?
Yes.
I believe
Yeah.
September 2021. We can always revisit that, but that would be our termination date, if that's the right
Okay.
word.
Yeah, that was what we had talked about.
Okay.
So we can just see how
Let's keep
where we're
checking
at
in
then.
with Peggy, all right?
Mhm.
as you do your monthly report, let's just assess that. And we, at our meetings, we could determine whether or not that's a reasonable date or whether or not we should consider a vote to extend it further.
Okay. Yeah, sorry I was late. I don't know if Sue told you, right when the meeting was about to start, my daughter who has had her license for maybe a month, has her first flat tire. So that was the situation.
Oh, Peggy, I have a flat tire at my house that needs fixed.
Oh, I could have called AAA for both of us, Sarah.
Just kidding.
That's a rite of passage, Peggy. You know, you get your license, or you're considering your license, you get your first pop tire. So congratulations. Okay,
Cool.
anything else on, so just full disclosure, everyone knows we have benefited from an anonymous contribution totaling $100,000 to support the program. What I do is I get the report from Peggy and I pass it on to the donor. We're getting right to that point where we're going to be drawing down that 100,000. The donor has been very complimentary and is always, it's been say anything else that I can do or so, please reach out to me. So that's something we could consider as we're moving forward. If further funds are needed, or if we want to have a variation of this to support folks in town to, you know, promote, preserve community affordable housing.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that was how we originally ran this program. You know, years ago, it started in we did it in Rockport with CPA funds, and it was just for those everyday situations, you know, and with COVID, that just threw so many more people into that bucket, and there weren't as many resources for that. So I think that's something to consider after the fact. Do we still keep these funds dedicated for that purpose and allow people who have non-COVID specific reasons for asking for the help to do the same? Something to think about.
Yeah, so we can continue to check in. Okay, unless there's any other comment or question, okay to move on? So the next item on the agenda is the Powder House Lane project. Just further information, in addition to what Joan mentioned. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joan, we had, well, actually, let me just say, we got an email indication that the project closed. I think it was yesterday or today.
I saw an email early this morning that said it had closed, so.
So
I'm not sure which day it
it's
was.
closed today.
Yesterday, yeah.
Or yesterday, okay. Unless I'm mistaken, it was approximately 80 donors who contributed to Affordable Housing Trust with the understanding that we would be passing the funds to the North Shore CDC.
Right, it's actually more than that. It was 103, so 105 as of today. So
Wow.
it was a huge donation, a huge amount of people that chose to do it through us.
And our the wiring was done on Friday, and it was based on the agreed to and signed MOU. You guys remember that was an item that we required, and we had a couple drafts, and we had the signed MOU, and it hit on a couple key points that was not in the original MOU, but based on our review, we added, such as they got to perform the income certification, they got to prepare an affirmative fair housing plan, they got to require at a minimum 25% of the units be rented at or below 80% of AMI. I'll come back to that in a second. And then upon vacancy, the release would be subject to the fair housing plan, to the target affordability. The MOU also indicated that they're going to maintain that minimum target affordability at or below 80. And then also they would develop and enter into an affirmative, actually it's affordable housing restriction that would be okayed by DHCD, and that would be the basis upon which units down the road would be eligible for the supportive housing inventory. One of the things we pushed back on the initial draft of the MOU is let's have it at or below 60. But both Mickey and I believe Kim Martin Epstein, who's the attorney representing them, saying, yes, they understand that that is their principal goal, but they were having some difficulty with Eastern Bank, and they had some underwriting issues. So they wanted to push at 80 right now. But I believe it's the understanding that in all likelihood, upon vacancy, they're going to be looking at 60%. If anything, would you look at future tax credit financing eligibility, it's typically pegged at or below 60% of area median income. And one thing that Mickey has mentioned is down the road, he would do further assessment of the property, look at the condition of the units, perhaps they would need rehab or refinancing. He would then engage Department of Housing, Community Development, and perhaps us with financing. And it would probably involve some form of tax credit financing, which would be at or below 60. So at that point in time, he thought it would be more appropriate. But right now, he said it was difficult to get the bank to underwrite anything at or below 80. And then we have one final provision in the MOU saying if it's terminated for any reason, and they spell out 2 or 3 reasons, well then all the funds will come back to the Affordable Housing Trust, and then we would perform our role of returning it back to all the donors. I don't expect that to happen, but that's a provision we had in the MOU. And then the other thing is, in order to release the funds, we got a form of invoice from North Shore CDC that outlined the request, outlined the specific amount, gave the routing instructions, and that fired up Joan to do the wiring, which I thank you again, Joan.
You're welcome.
I don't know if there's anything else on the Powder House.
Yes.
Go ahead, Sal.
I think that the Manchester Affordable Housing Trust needs to give some comments to the Board of Selectmen with respect to the 40B project, and to leverage this as the fact that towns, you had 105 donors, and the Affordable Housing Trust was able to contribute $414,000 to this affordable housing project, and kind of leverage it a little bit, because I don't think Mass Housing is talking to DHCD or talking to anybody else. It seems clear it's not going to get on to the SHI list, but I think that we need to make a statement with respect to the fact that the Affordable Housing Trust is behind it, the taxpayers have contributed money, and to just kind of give notice that we're working on stuff. I don't know if it'll make a difference, but I think it's worth an attempt.
What I had audio issues just for a second. When you say let's demonstrate support for, et cetera, you mean for the Powder House development?
Yes, I think that for the, Mass Housing has to issue a project eligibility letter for the SLV project. And we have some time to provide comments to the Board of Selectmen. And I think the Manchester Affordable Housing Trust should be pointing out projects that are in the line, because it won't hit the SHI list, but we can at least demonstrate that they're working towards things, and that we send $414,535 over to that project. It just seems that if we don't say something about that, nobody else is, and we just need to approach it from the Affordable Housing Trust standpoint of being in support of this effort.
Sarah, you're saying we should couch this as our comments to the Board of Selectmen?
Yes. I mean, I think we need to, Manchester Affordable Housing Trust needs to make comments to the Board of Selectmen regarding projects we're working on, which may not yet have hit the SHI list. So I think it's not only this Powder House Lane, but I think it's also the MHA piece.
And your plan would be that then the Board of Selectmen would pass those comments on to DHCD?
to mass housing. See, the problem is mass housing is providing the project eligibility letter, but I don't know if mass housing talks to DHCD.
Probably not.
Got it.
And I just think, I don't know if it will make any difference, but I think it's worth pointing out.
Well, it certainly wouldn't hurt, I don't think, unless,
Sarah, do you think it'd be something like, if it's saying a letter, it would be almost like, address it to the Board of Select people. It's almost like, as you consider the SLV proposal or so, representing a Manchester Affordable Housing Trust, we just want you to be aware of and consider the following initiatives that we have in our queue that we hope to have an impact on community affordable housing, and just go bullet.
Right. Yes.
MHA, possible Pleasant Street site,
Yeah.
Powder House.
I mean, I think one of the challenges is with the SLV project is it's 80% AMI, and all of those units would qualify as quote unquote affordable on the SHI list. That means that if we wanted to come forward with the MHI thing under a 40B, that a safe harbor would apply, and it might not be approved.
Okay.
So I think we need to make an effort to explain what's in the works. I don't know if it will make a difference.
No, but you're talking about something in the comment period. So the question to board members is this something that folks would support? I mean, it's something that we could do, I think, rather quickly. It doesn't have to be a 10-pager, it could be, but I want to give people an opportunity to opine on that. Does that seem that folks could support?
so
Yes.
my only, I guess I wouldn't call it reservation point, is that the Board of Selectmen did ask a number of boards for comments, and they didn't ask us. So I don't know whether that means they wouldn't accept any, or whether we could just make our comments anyway. And I
Yes,
suppose
I would. I'm sorry, I would consider that an oversight on their part. I do. No, I think they would welcome your comments.
In that case, I think we should do it.
I totally support that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Me too.
So in addition to highlighting the work that we're doing that could have an impact on community affordable housing in the foreseeable future, we can also, do you want to reiterate what we said in our last comment opportunity, where we said, let's look for deeper affordability at or below 60% AMI. Let's look for energy efficient or carbon neutral, stuff like that we.
I would go with the lower affordability, but I'm not sure the carbon neutral gains much. I think they're already incorporating that.
We did talk about energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency to help on the operating costs for the
tenants.
But I think the application includes that.
But I think what Sarah also said was that we should say that there was a significant donation made for the Powder House project. It was a huge show of support from the townspeople.
Right.
Who wanted to be part of it and wanted to show that this is an important thing, that we're not trying to say, not we, but the town isn't saying we don't want affordable housing, which I think maybe the perception with all the SLV signs around. But I think that we improved that. We had a huge outpouring of support for affordable housing, and that's really important.
And I think we also need to point out that it's in the village.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, because
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
state cares a lot about that. It's like,
Right.
if we're, as a town, it's better for everyone if it's integrated into the community and not plunked next to the highway on the absolute edge of town where people have no access to services, and it requires people driving into town every time to, when the state approves projects, that's one of the things that's a factor is access to transportation and resources. And when you're doing an affordable housing application, you have to really spell out how people are going to access all kinds of different things. So, and that also lends itself to the energy efficiency thing that the state, like when a nonprofit is developing affordable housing, that's big on the list too. It's the the location, the durability, the energy efficiency, all those things are really important. So I think if we talk about those things in the context of why Powder House is supported, but also that it checks all these important boxes for the community too, and for the folks that are going to live in anything that gets built that's affordable. It has to have deeper affordability, and it has to be better integrated just into the fabric of the community. And I don't know if it's of time too to talk about all the efforts the Housing Authority and the trust have been doing, you know, the RFP and all that stuff, because that shows activity. And that, so it's not like no one's doing anything about affordable housing in this community. It's just maybe they're weren't aware, and then Powder House is new. So you could talk about both of those things as significant efforts toward increasing the percent of affordability in town.
We talk about our work, definitely at Powder House, significant contribution, et cetera. But then the prospects that we have been pursuing with the Housing Authority. Does anyone have a deep desire to put together a letter on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust? I'm willing to do that, but I don't want to, I don't want it to take anything from anyone.
I would love it if you did it, because I have no capacity to do it, but I think we should do it. So
Yeah, and I
you're
think
not taking anything away
the
from
other
me.
thing we might want to throw in there is ADA accessibility to services, because it's my understanding that SLB currently is not proposing any type of a sidewalk down to the street.
That's huge. ADA is huge.
Yeah, and even if they put a sidewalk in, it would not comply with ADA because the grade is too steep.
Right.
I could work on something, but I can't get to it until this weekend. What is the timeline that comments have to be ensued, you know?
The letter to Mass Housing Finance
I think it has to go by June 24th.
is June 24th, but the Board of Selectmen will want it a little in advance of that so they can put it together, but you have time.
Okay, so why don't
It's not tomorrow. It's not this month. It's not this week. It's not next week.
I could work on something this weekend and send it out to folks. It'll be one page, or even, it's going to be as condensed as possible.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add to that would be our disappointment that the sponsor, the SLV sponsor, refused to even consider a lower AMI rent option.
Mhm.
Wouldn't even negotiate about it. I think that's kind of.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll say I went on that site visit and was surprised that they were taking 30 feet of stone off the top of the hill.
So continuing the discussion on the Powder House Lane project, you would think that our work is over, but that is not the case, because we are going to have to send out acknowledgement letters to all of the donors. Joan and I have had conversations on that. We have a template letter that we will work on. Sue, we have our logo, right?
You have a letterhead.
Could you send that to Joan and myself?
Sure.
I don't know if there's some way that we could, Joan, just thinking aloud, I know we had the discussion yesterday. Could we have a template letter with that, that logo on the top? But we're going to have to personally address what is now, 105. That's going to require some stationery and some stamps.
Well, John, that's nice, but you only need to do it for donations over, I think it was $250.
Yeah. That's the IRS requirement, is $250.
Yeah, anything over 250, you're muted, Joan. Anything over 250 doesn't need to go in with tax.
Any under
information.
250.
Under 250, yeah.
How many are under that, Joan, do you know?
I don't have the number, but a lot of them.
One, we have the rule of law. The other is it's an opportunity for us to extend thanks.
I agree, John. I think we should communicate with everybody that stepped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity for us to give thanks. So I would be in favor of sending a letter to all 105.
Can We hire a secretary to type all those addresses. That's a mammoth task.
It is a lot, but you know what? I think that, I think we can bite it off. We don't have to get them all out on the same day. We can work at it. And I have time that I would be happy to do it.
Or if
Well-
you want to give each of us a chunk, we can
Sure.
handwrite them and mail them. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
That's
This is
another
what
thing.
Joe and I were talking about. Do we write out one and handwrite the name and the amount in the letter? Or do you think that that's like a little, it's not so.
Please, I think it should be all typed.
It should be, yeah, a form letter that has all the tax information they need for next year's taxes. And they just put it in their tax folder.
Well, the letter would have that, Nancy. My point for folks is to consider is if we just had one letter we print out 105 times and we just write the name of the donor and we write in their dollar amount of contribution, everything else stays the same. Or do you think we should have 105 typed out letters that has the name of the person? I think it looks cleaner, but Joan and I are weighing that's 105.
So maybe the people that donated over the tax number, $250, maybe do those with a handwritten.
Do with a typed.
Yeah. And then all the and I'm happy to print the letters, John. I can whip those out in no time.
the only other thing maybe to think about is, so now we have this list of people that care about affordable housing. So it might be worth entering them into like electronically so that we have it as a list. So it could be a mailing list when things are going on. And, you know, we can do a mail merge. So then that can, if we set it up, you could do a mail merge and then you can crank out the letters and we can just sign them to add the personal touch or put a little note. But that way, then we actually have a mailing list of contacts,
Looking at,
people that care about the issue.
yes, it's not necessarily a thank you, which is important, but we now have an opportunity for further outreach and engagement with folks.
Yeah, because I think if they cared, you know, if people cared enough to donate toward Powder House, then they obviously care. And then we can let them know what's going on with the Housing Authority and Trust
And maybe-
Project and other things in town.
And we should send envelopes like the other committees in town do, you know, in October and November, looking for additional donations.
Mhm.
I mean, I get them from all sorts of entities, all sorts of Council on Aging, everyone has given money to. I get little envelopes.
Yeah, no, definitely. The community center, the library.
Yeah,
But it's just nice because, you know, like we're talking about a number of initiatives. So, you know, if there's something that we need to go to town about to help build support, like there's a group of stakeholders so that you could let folks know, okay, this is on the agenda. It'd be great if you could come out and support XYZ. You know, it's just always nice to have, to start to build, for us anyway, to build a mailing list of
people.
folks that are interested in the work.
They can follow us on Twitter.
Oh, God, no.
Jeez.
That's where we draw the line. No more social media. Oh, my God.
You were going to say something, Joan?
I would say that if somebody can show me how to do a mail merge, I can try to get it started at least. Do I start with Excel? Is that how you set it up?
I'm trying to remember. I know in Word, you make the letter and you add the fields, and then you have a separate document with those fields, and then you just type it all in, and then you merge them. But let me look, because I haven't done one in a bit, but I remember it's one of those things, once you walk through it, you go, oh yeah, that's how I did it last time.
Yeah, and I think my assistant in the office knows how to do it. So we can make it happen.
Well, if
Oh, okay.
if somebody can teach me to do it or show me how to get that information to do it, I can supply all the information, certainly. Yeah, so shall I contact who? Nancy or Peggy? Who's
Yeah,
gonna
let me check with Eva tomorrow and I'll let you know
Okay,
if she can help you with it. I think she can. I know
Okay.
she can. And
Yeah.
if not her, I know the harbor master does tons of mail merges. So he can show us how to do it and then we'll work with you.
So I'll update the acknowledgement letter and I can send it out to Joan. Then Joan, you could coordinate with Nancy about this mail merge. But then I would like to make a motion that the Affordable Housing Trust approves a small expenditure that would allow us to get appropriate stationery and stamps to allow for the mailing. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion?
We're talking probably about $100.
Yeah.
At most.
No, it's money well spent.
Okay, John, now you say all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, aye.
So Joan, do you work with Sue or do you work with the town treasurer to take the funds out? You now have the vote authorization.
No, I don't know where they are.
So then you can just work that. So whatever is purchased, it can be reimbursed.
So Sue, maybe we could set the Affordable Housing Trust up on the postage meter as an account. And we could put $100 in the account and then we could just meter the letters out of there.
I guess we can check to see if we can have an ad hoc account or have one that
I don't see
maybe
why
lives
not.
there. Well, I don't know, just sometimes it's touchy about whether it's a town, whether it's a town agency or
That's
not.
right.
So let me just, as long as if we can, that would be fine. If not, we can just go and buy the stamps and,
Okay.
yeah, but it's a good idea.
All right. So then Joan, you got the authority to do that. And then I'll get back to you with the letter. You reach out to Nancy. If there's any further coordination needed regarding stuffing,
Yes, yeah,
et cetera, please reach out to us.
absolutely. Will do. Thanks,
Excellent.
Nancy.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I just looked in Word too, just to look at how you do it. And there's a thing, mailings and a tab, and you just do start mail. There's a way to but it just means you're going to have to enter everybody in by last name, first name, blah, 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 blah. But once it's set up.
Okay.
But if you have somebody that does it all the time, they'd probably be quicker. But if it's a problem, I can help too.
Thank you.
I just know I'll be slow because I haven't done one in a while, but I think I can figure it out.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. So why don't we go on to item 4 on the agenda, which is the update and discussion of the Housing Authority Affordable Housing Trust study outreach and next steps. A couple things. Since our last meeting on the 21st, I believe we've got a final draft from our consultant Bev puts that into place. My understanding is since I last looked, it's on the town site. It's town of Manchester by the Sea. You go to, I think it's like Town Government Services. You go to Affordable Housing Trust and you can actually see the updated, what we call final draft.
So that wasn't sent to us. Is that correct?
Sue, go ahead. I saw you nodding your head, so I just want to acknowledge
Sorry,
it.
I sent a link because it's a very large document.
Oh, okay.
It was some time ago. It's been out there for quite a while, Sarah, but I'm happy
Okay.
to resend.
I can find it on the website.
Second, what we did,
Maybe.
that same website, we have, in addition to the full report, we have the approximately 10-page, sort of like a cheat sheet version of it. And that was something that we circulated amongst ourselves a couple weeks ago. And then the third item that we did, we presented to the Board of Selectmen on the 17th, but we can adapt it to just our website. It's like a final report. It's a nutshell summary. It talks about site background, and then it touches on some considerations that we wanted people to be aware of. So those 3 documents are on should be on the town website. Furthermore, since our meeting on the 21st, myself, Chris, and Nancy, as we discussed at the meeting on the 19th, we met with residents of the Housing Authority. We met on the 28th. My count was we had, how many people did we have? I thought I wrote it
We had
down.
about 15.
Yeah, I want to thank Nancy for stepping up, and Gretchen. Unfortunately, she couldn't make the meeting, but they helped out getting transportation, and we had a couple little treats for folks. And it was it's straightforward. It was at the Crowell Chapel. It was 1 hour. We went over the meeting purpose, which was to discuss and answer questions that they might have regarding the preliminary plan to improve the apartments and to add new units at Newport, the Plains, and Loading Place. We outlined the plan sponsors. Clearly, it's MHA and us. We talked about what does the plan address? What does it mean for you? We talked about next steps. I think we had some good points that were raised. I think there's support. I didn't hear anyone say, "Are you guys nuts about density? Are you nuts about putting new units, on the hill on Loading Place or Newport?" There was a couple residents from Loading Place who they were very considerate. They didn't give any reservations like, "What's going to happen? Are you telling me you're going to demolish this?" And we emphasized there could be no displacement or rent increases. To possible temporary relocation would occur as part of the renovation process. Some of the notes I have here is handicap access is important. Unit sizes. People like the idea of having that second bedroom. They talked about some current issues, which is sort of a sidebar. We really can't get into it, but they were talking about like electrical issues. We talked about, what do you think about 3 or 4 stories? People were okay with that. They seemed okay, especially at the Plains. Parking, they said they need spaces for drop off, for visitors, for services. And they said, just keep an eye on designated spots for home health aides. They talked about expanded access to laundry. Let's not forget about that. They said to explore that. They talked about like things like the refrigerator, and it is really getting to be in the minute detail, but they're sort of poorly designed right now. But moving forward, when you're looking at those type of elements, have them designed for the elderly. Chris and Nancy, I don't know if you had any other observations from the meeting. I thought it went well.
Yeah, I thought it went well. I remember one woman, I remember asking whether she'd like to live in a 3 or 4 story building with an elevator. And she said, "When can I move in?" She's ready to go. So that was good. That was good feedback.
So we mentioned, we were very straightforward that we're going to continue to work with Housing Authority residents, and as an aside, town residents, to get comments and to keep people engaged. And we just emphasize that this is going to take years. We hate to say it, but it is development. It's going to take years. We just commit that we'll keep you involved. So we left with that expectation. I think now, as a part of the agenda item here, I don't know if anyone's got any comments on what you've heard, just relative to the outreach to the Housing Authority.
Just one question I had was, what do folks mean when they say a refrigerator, for example, that is like more for the elderly? They're talking about like how heavy the door is that you have to pull, or the design, or like what was the? Like, I
They're
understand
talking
the motor
about what their
laundry.
current issues are. They have refrigerators that don't stay cold. They have stoves. If you put the oven on, the gas burners on the top don't work, or vice versa. So they're talking about what's happening today.
Okay,
and-
like
and
just
what they
basics. They need
Yeah.
high functioning appliances. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It was tough for us to hear that, and I'll speak on behalf of Chris, because we don't Manchester Affordable Housing Trust, we're not involved in management and operations. We don't have the ability to step in and say, okay, we'll check right in with you. But it was something that it was acknowledged. So that's something that we're gonna keep working on, working with residents of the Housing Authority. I think now the question is our second commitment, which is to have a broader outreach to town residents. And I believe we have the support of the consultant who can help us and participate. But I envision something where perhaps in the month of June, we could have a meeting such as this, but the only item on the agenda is discussion, a presentation, discussion, comments on, and what we're calling it, it's a proof of concept plan. I don't want to confuse people to say this is a plan we have, and it's fixed in stone, and we're not, but it's really just it's an analysis, and it's a proof that the concept is reasonable, but we're engaging with folks. Does a June meeting with proper outreach seem reasonable to folks?
So I have a couple
Mail
of,
merge from our donors, and
I have a couple of ideas about this. One of them is I think we should call it a workshop so that the planning board does workshops all the time. And a workshop implies that everyone's coming to it without anything set in concrete at all. It's sort of a discussion. And the second thing is, I think it would be great to have sort of a PowerPoint presentation or a slideshow or something showing different kinds of buildings and showing the sites as they are, and just getting people to open up about what their feelings are about these as potential development sites. And I think the hard part's going to be doing an outreach to make sure we get some good participation. Maybe an article in the Cricket again, or I don't know, something to alert people that this is happening. And I think it can be recorded, and people can go back and visit it in the future. Those that don't actually participate right away, so they could see what the discussion is about. So that's my thoughts so far.
those are good ones.
So can we do something in person, or it has to be online?
We're gonna, after the emergency expires on June 15th, all meetings will have to be in person.
Yeah.
I checked with town council on that.
Oh, we have, yeah, we have an
Although I don't know.
opportunity. After June 15th, we have the opportunity to have a in-person meeting.
We're required to, all of the emergency stuff goes away unless the legislator passes something. So I asked town council with respect to ZBA meetings, and she said, yep, I've got to have an in-person meeting with a quorum present in order to hold a meeting. That doesn't preclude having Zoom available, but we're going to be required to do in person.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
I would say for meetings that are required by law, that would be a requirement, and I think it's probably an option for community meetings that are workshops and stuff. So I think it depends on people's comfort level. I mean, this is not a community workshop is not something that's required for.
I think it should be done as an open meeting under the open meeting laws. I think
and
we
I
have
don't
too many
disagree.
things. We skirt the rules too much by calling things workshops. That's my opinion.
Well, let's put it, it's a
It's
semantic.
just a technical point.
It's a semantic.
Well, it's,
No, to stay with your point, Sarah, let's call it a workshop, but the question is, are we gonna, it's really under the rubric of a Manchester Affordable Housing Trust official meeting.
right. If we're going to have a quorum present, it's going to be an open meeting.
So the question then becomes, are we required to have it in person because it's past a certain date, or do we have the flexibility to have it with, like this by Zoom?
All the exceptions to the open meeting law will expire on June 15th. And under open meeting laws, if you have a quorum of your board present, it's an open meeting and it has to be in person. It has to be available in person, let's say, and the members of the board have to be present, like we did before.
Okay. Is this the type of thing that, could we have it like in the lunchroom at the school? I know the master plan had some meetings there. It seems to me that we could rig up something there. I know Bev would be open. We have some balance on her account to pay her.
The school will charge, I believe.
They won't.
They won't?
They won't. No, it's not for a community meeting like this. The school is available. I would just encourage us to think about how we can do Zoom as well, so that you can increase
Right.
the number of people that go. So I think it's definitely, if it's a quorum, if it's a meeting, open meeting for sure. But I think a lot more people will participate if they have the opportunity to do it online as well. So. We'll have a
Has
little
that
learning
happened yet?
curve.
Has anyone done that? You know, where you're any kind of in person, and then also have
Not
some
yet,
kind of way to
because we
pull
haven't
in
had-
Zoomers?
We have in the budget for next year funds in order to purchase software, hardware, or something
Mhm.
to enable the use of room 5 to be recorded by the Cpa TV, whatever it's called now,
Uh-huh.
and also be able to hook into Zoom.
Okay.
But that's in the budget that starts July 1st. So
Yep.
I don't think we have the technical capability where you'd be able to see everyone in the room
Mhm.
on Zoom, but I could be wrong.
So could
I
we
don't
all
know when
bring,
the new,
no, go ahead,
sorry,
Cindy.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, I don't know when the new, the elementary school will be open, but hopefully that has the latest technology that may be able to offer a solution.
Right.
The
Well,
one
in the
thing
meantime, couldn't we just bring our own computers and just be
Yeah.
on Zoom and mute ourselves? And
Right, we could, yep.
Yeah, I think the hard thing is a lot of times there needs to be somebody managing like the chat and the questions and things like that, so that the people on Zoom can actually participate, as opposed to it being like a webinar where you're just an audience. Remember, that's the thing I notice on a lot of these is like there's usually someone else just actually, there's the activity of the group, and then there's somebody else managing the technology piece to forward questions, or to be able to unmute somebody to let somebody on Zoom ask a question equal to somebody who's physically present. So it's a little complicated.
And we may be able to get some technical assistance from the regional planning agency to do some training on how to do this, perhaps.
That would be
Okay.
nice, yeah.
Yeah, that would be, or even mass housing, or anyone that's associated with trying to, get communities up to date so they can hold real meaningful meetings and continue to do our good work. So I'll look around and poke around to see if what might be there for funding or technical assistance to help us figure this out.
Okay.
Just because that's been the nice thing. I mean, in some arenas, the Zoom there's been more participation than you'd normally get, which I think is really great. So it'd be nice to be able to keep offering that to people.
Have the opportunity. I agree,
Right.
Peggy. In the interest of keeping this front and center, how are folks okay to just taking a stab at a date? For example, I'm looking at my calendar, like that last week in June. I say it a couple of reasons. One, it gives us enough time to plan, prepare, get the kinks out, but it's also selfishly, I'm going to be out from the 10th to the 20th. Is that last week in June on
As long as it's not on a Wednesday. I'm having to switch my ZBA meeting from the 23rd to the 30th because the 23rd is the backup rain date for town meeting, and I can't hold a ZBA on the same day as a town meeting. So if it's not a Wednesday, I'm okay.
So it could be, and I say this not knowing any other town meetings or key dates, Sue, whether it be the 29th, that Tuesday, or 7/1, which would be a Thursday.
I'm on vacation 7/1 and 7/2.
I would,
That's the holiday weekend.
Right, it's getting too close, yep.
Wait, no, June 29th, a Tuesday.
June 29th is okay.
You say holiday weekend, which holiday are you referring to?
If you go to July 1st,
That's
Oh,
July 4th weekend.
You make a very good point, Nancy. That's a community planning and organizing one part 101 failure. I think Tuesday is probably reasonable, though, if we were to do the 29th.
Yep.
You want to just put that in and just we can explore that. Sue, I'm just thinking aloud if we could just reach out to Bev and see if she's available.
Sure.
And
At
maybe,
what time? Or the TBD?
6:30, 6:30?
I think we've got to be aware of people's work hours, so I wouldn't have it like at 4:30 right now, but I think 6:30.
Yeah, I think 6:30 is a good choice. I may or may not be available depending on my daughter's lacrosse schedule. I love y'all, but she's flying the coop very soon. I'm not going to miss anything.
Thought you were going to mention flat tires, but I guess.
No, we're not planning on a flat tire that night. I'll hold that for consideration, though.
Why don't we hold that and we can do some behind the scenes work. I don't know if we need to nail it down right now.
We can at least see if there's anything else on the schedule or if Bev's available and
we can do some behind the scenes organizing regarding, the workshop, an agenda, our approach and stuff. I don't know if we're prepared to, I'm not prepared to get into the details right now. I'm just thinking those are some of the things we could think through and maybe circulate by way of Sue and then get responses to Sue. So it's not perceived as we're having a meeting, but at least it would give us an opportunity to plan for this event on the
We have to find a location, right?
well, Sarah, when did you think that was going to be online? The online was going to have to be over? When did you?
June
Do we have a date?
15th. June
Oh, June
15th,
15.
which is when the governor is rescinding all his emergency
Starting the-
powers.
Okay.
And it's in effect immediately because I went to town council because I was concerned about my ZBA meeting.
Yeah.
And so she said it seems unlikely that the legislature would pass anything before then to stall things. So all of the exceptions go away on June 15th.
Sue, can you check the school to see, or I don't know if there's anyone.
I can check the school.
The lunchroom, that'd be great. The only other item that I have on this is Chris and myself, Sarah, Muffin were at the meeting the other night on the 17th where I gave a quick summary of what the Affordable Housing Trust did relative to Powder House, but it really was important because I talked about the Housing Authority for Affordable Housing Trust plan that we got in place. And even more specific, I honed in on some of the issues that Chris and I outlined in our little nutshell summary. One, the land complication and who owns the land and do we have the ability to subdivide, the importance of having a one-to-one match of new to existing housing. It's been new units must be on land separate from the housing authority. The importance of the Pleasant Street property as one, enabling us to get those units to help us get the match of one-to-one, but equally important, being a driver of some economic resources, funds that could help with the rehabilitation of the current units. But then the key point we really talked about, it came into the area of next steps. We said, decision on Pleasant Street. And I was very upfront where I said, we're looking to the Board of Selectmen to help us, can the town support repurposing the Pleasant Street site for new housing? And if that's possible, can you provide a site at a reduced selling price? And um, that got us going on to some questions. What happened was Eli then recognized each of the board members, and they had questions to me and to Chris and to Sarah. I'm just looking at my notes. Sarah and Chris, by all means, step in. The Pleasant Street site, they said the clearance of the School Street site, there's just a lot of dominoes that must fall into place. I think that was what Jeff was saying. In essence, there needs to be a place for the DPW site to go. And I sort of acknowledged that, and I said, but if we have support from the town on the use of the site for housing, could we have a town vote that supports the housing use for the site, subject to the town relocating the DPW site? In essence, not waiting to have the DPW site, all of that entanglement get done before we can go to town vote. And I got the sense that there was some flexibility on that, but it was a little vague.
I just think we need to make the whole thing less complicated. I think we need to make the assumption that we're going to have access to the the Pleasant Street site. And if we do, this is what happens. Because the feedback I got from people was it was very confusing. We were too much down in potential legal issues. And I think that we need to have a more definitive plan that says, if all of these things happen, this is what we can do. And then you go out to the townspeople. They have to vote at a town meeting to transfer the use of that land from municipal use to other use. So, you know, we're way far away from that. You know, particularly if we want it at a discount. We have to come up with, why we don't need the funds. So we have to deal with the cost of the DPW and say, okay, comes out of reserves.
So this is a chicken and an egg, because we can't really get there until we have a development plan. And the development plan requires us to have a development partner to put all this together.
Right.
But I think the answer is that if we disclose to the RFP that this is all subject to the town doing all these domino things to get this to happen, as long as that's explicit in the RFP, then potential development partners will decide whether or not they want to participate, and we'll find out.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
if we don't,
yeah,
if we don't try, we're not going to get anywhere. We'll just be stuck here until.
right. And part of the complication is the first time we went out to RFP on moving the compost site, that didn't work out so well. They've just gone out to RFP again, and it's kind of like a different project. And they need to move the compost in order to free up School Street for DPW.
Yeah.
And I think it's the end of June that there was the response for the RFP for the compost site.
Chris, I thank you for bringing up that point, because I know towards the end of our presentation and discussion, we had talked about that. And you and I said that we have experience, or it would appear that it would be possible to have an RFP where we reference the subject to. But could we use that same line of thinking and try to get a town vote this fall, and to gauge the support for a transfer, or
it would have to be a non-binding vote, I think, John. I think we could get a non-binding vote of the sense of the meeting.
I think that's a good way, Sarah, because I think in the RFP, if we're going to say we're going to disclose certain things that haven't happened yet, but we expect, it would be great if we could refer to a non-binding vote of approval that was done on X date, and then we're just continuing that process.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And we also need to find out if taxpayers would come forward again to help subsidize the cost of transferring that property.
Help me understand that one.
Well, what did they collect for Powder House Lane? 1.6 million or something?
So you're saying ask for a contribution for the,
From interested taxpayers to help transfer that property to the Affordable Housing Trust or wherever it's going to go to be used for affordable housing. I mean, that's some tack we may have to take at some point if the town, if the majority of townspeople say, we're not going to give it away for free.
I guess another way of looking at it is let the town cover that cost, because it might be tough to ask a resident to contribute to what many people might think is it's a town function. You should be doing that, but then pursue an angle where are you willing to contribute to the Affordable Housing Trust
Right.
fundraising campaign specifically for the purpose of
Acquiring that property from the town.
okay, yeah, acquiring the town. Yeah.
Another way of doing that is through CPA funding. That's clearly an affordable housing.
But we don't have enough CPA funding, I don't think so.
No, not CPA. The CPA has, well, they get new funding every year, so they could definitely put a large chunk out.
I think if we asked the CPA, if we had a bigger number, I think that they would certainly consider. I mean, I'm not talking $1 million, but I don't know what I have no idea what the value of that land is.
Town was expecting, I think, close to 3 million. I could be wrong, but I think that's a number I heard floated around.
They were hoping that a development might free up that kind of money, basically not based on the cost or the value of that property, but on the cost of moving the DPW. So they were looking to offset those costs. So it might take a number of different funding sources to pull it together. But I mean, our partner, a development partner may be able to figure that out for us.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a little premature right now to try to figure out how we're going to approach the town meeting. We got 6 months to figure that out. So, but I think it's good to start thinking about it.
I agree. And certainly we can have some discussions with the Board of Selectmen. I think last 2 nights ago, was it last night or 2 nights ago? At least it was, we got it on their radar, and they seem supportive of the idea, but we continue outreach.
One other thing, any RFP is going to have to be vetted by DHCD, I assume. And they may flag some things when we put it together and send it out to them.
And Sarah, should this board go to the Finance Committee as well for a more formal presentation, or do you think that is not needed?
I think that if we're going to be looking for the property to be transferred for free or at a substantial discount, I think it should be discussed with the Finance Committee. I did something very informally. I threw it out there.
Right.
But there needs to be, and if you're going to do something for the Finance Committee, it needs to be a lot more financially detailed.
Sure.
I mean, one of the questions I got from somebody on the Finance Committee when I raised it was, where's the pro forma? What's the assumption regarding debt?
We have that now.
Right. And because what did the final report come out with as to what could be afforded for the DPW site? It was pretty low, wasn't it?
Basically, it was 0. Yeah.
Okay.
Although, but that's a moving number. It depends on a bunch of assumptions, which we don't know how to make yet.
Right, and I think that, so therefore, if that's what the report said and it was 0, then there needs to be a discussion of ways that money could flow in.
Yeah.
You know,
I
do
think
you
there
get
was-
taxpayers to support it? Do you get Affordable Housing Trust to support it? Do you get CPC funds to support it?
I
Right.
think at least at one point she was up to 200, like 300,000 or 400,000, I think was the most that she could get out of it. I also think that Chris, I think would agree that the planning board would like a presentation too. So maybe it's worth it for us to work on a little PowerPoint presentation that we could, a
Right.
few members of the
Yeah.
trust could go to the different boards with.
I think that'd be a great idea.
First-
I want to move on to the next sort of subtopic here, John, which is the Board of Selectmen suggested that we do something about figuring out what are the constraints on the land title that have to be untangled to make this happen. And I think we talked about hiring a lawyer to do some title work and tell us.
Yeah, Council Board of Select Person Ann Harrison brought that up, and she said, "Has anyone done any? Do you have any information? Have you done any work on that?" And we said, "No." And she said, "Well, maybe that's something that you should be pursuing." And I think we all agree that that is reasonable. I mean, I was good on the basis of that. I was prepared to make a motion to. Well, actually, before I say that, is that the type of thing, Sue, that our council, who has helped us on like the MOU, is that something that they could do in their shop?
Yeah, I'm sure they have a specialist within KP Law that could take that on for certain.
So I think we need to get from KP Law an estimate of what it would cost us before we
Yeah.
vote on it.
That's a
And
great.
I think we should probably put together a scope of work of what exactly it would be that they would do.
Yeah. And get an estimate and then we can vote.
Yeah, because I think
Spend
it's
the funds.
more, I think more of the entanglement is the state's
Yeah.
regulations regarding the affordable housing, the housing that's on it, and the financing that tied all that up. So
Yes.
it's not strictly a title,
No, it's not
regular
true.
legal
No,
title
that's right.
problem.
That's right. Somebody who understands the state public
Yes.
housing laws.
Yeah.
So can somebody
A
make
little homework
contact?
here.
Yeah. Can we get in touch with the law firm and ask them what they think it would take, and then we can do some work ourselves? And-
Yeah, if
Put
we
together
can,
a
if I
scope of
can, maybe we could, you and I, Chris or John, we could kind of put together at least a nutshell scope. And then I
Yeah.
can ask him.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I think Bev could help us out with
Outline
understanding that too.
what we're trying to solve for or resolve. On their experience, they can also identify anything. And then on that basis, if we could then further define what the specific scope of work is and get an estimate, perhaps at our next meeting. At
Right.
a next meeting, bring it up to a vote, or if we, I'm thinking aloud, is it really time sensitive? And if it is, do we do it by email and do that?
No, I think we need a formal vote in the meeting once we have the
Yeah.
estimate and know the dollar amount.
And I don't think it's time sensitive. I
No.
think we have till next fall sometime.
So Sue, if you could, is it okay for you to pursue that with?
Mhm.
Great, that'd be nice.
Yes.
I mean, I think the town meeting they're talking about in the fall, they're talking about pretty late in the fall, but I could be wrong. I heard a
I think it'll
November
be
date.
quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who else has their eye on that property? Like
What
throughout the
property?
town? On Pleasant Street? Is there, I know we were just talking about the sites that are already done, but in terms of transferring that land or selling that land to another entity, who else in town wants that land? Do you know?
So there's a piece of it that's wetlands,
Right.
but it would have to remain wetlands, and it's not like it's, I don't see the Concom would be looking for it.
I don't think anyone's looking at it that
Yeah.
I'm aware of.
The only thing I can think of would be for an
Parks.
athletic field.
Yeah, athletic field, yeah,
But that could be something, it could be part of the housing project, you know, it's not.
right.
Not
But
mutually
we need
exclusive.
cemetery expansion. There are no cemetery lots available in Manchester right now.
We actually, we've got it. We completed a cemetery assessment and we have quite a few years of growth with some planning and design.
Well, just as
And
long as
I-
nobody, if nobody dies, we'll be okay.
Yeah,
No,
just
There you go.
We've
Stack
got
'em
a
up.
number of years.
I'm not giving up any of my lots.
I love it, Nancy.
Do we have anything else on item 4, MHA, Affordable Housing Trust, outreach, next steps? We've got a bunch of to-do items. Why don't we then go to discussion of response to notification of request for the project eligibility letter for the
Which
sanctuary?
I think we already covered.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to, I want to say, my understanding is that that is the letter that the Board of Selectmen, that was funny, Sue, you sent out the emails, that this new development on Upper School Street. I'm thinking, well, what the hell, we have a second project? And he said, hello, John, no, it's now the new form of request. It was, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we're clear on that. My responsibility is to get something out to folks in the form of a letter to the Board of Selectmen. I'll get that out before the end of the weekend. We can comment and then move it forward. Any other planning efforts that may be relevant that wasn't anticipated prior to the agenda?
Yeah, I would just say that the only thing that some folks may not know is that we are pivoting on the 40R study. So instead of creating an overlay district that allows housing by right, we're looking at we're using that study to look at an overlay district that's developed by the town and would allow it by special permit or by right. It's our decision. I can send something out.
that's regarding the
getting,
zoning in the LCD, is it?
Yeah, it's regarding this. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. I was caught unaware by my daughter coming in.
Saw some movement.
Yeah, so instead of doing an overlay district that has some state regulations that have certain requirements, we're actually going to look at 3 different scenarios for different levels and types of development there, and then compare the community impacts from each one and kind of put those before folks and say, here's some options, here's what they would produce for income, here are some community impacts, you know, what's desirable for the limited commercial district, and go for there. So that's all.
Any other items to discuss before we talk about possible next meeting date? So let's put aside for the moment that we're holding the 29th for a broader Affordable Housing Trust, Housing Authority. And before I forget, Sue, can you just give Gretchen and our friends, Nancy, our friends at Housing Authority, just give them that heads up that that's a date that we're looking for, and if you can just put that aside, and we'll get more details. But assuming we got that, I'm looking. Folks open to meet on the 22nd or the 24th in a forum that would be similar to this, our normal meeting, with some report back, and it might also be good to go over ideas, et cetera, regarding the meeting that we're anticipating on the 29th. Is the 22nd or the 24th overhead? Sarah, I purposely did not say the 23rd.
Or the 21st. 21st is supposed to be town meeting. The rain date's 23rd, so 22 or 24.
So then
Seem
how,
okay.
is it 24th okay for folks, for us to meet? Doesn't have to be really long.
Fine
Yep.
with me.
Fine with me too.
Yeah, 24th is better for me.
That's good.
Nice.
At what time?
Great. I'm
Well,
sorry.
this will be an in-person meeting.
What's that?
Oh, yeah,
It's gonna
In
be in
person.
person.
My understanding, though, is we're not going to be on the warrant for the CPC, right? Isn't it been pushed off to the fall?
No, with this, the meeting, we're talking about the meeting being in person, John, not Zoom.
Yes. Our,
June 24th.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about the town meeting,
no,
No.
which you say is the 21st?
Yep.
And the,
it's on the football field.
yeah, but that one there, that doesn't involve you making a presentation.
No, we're not on it. Yeah.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it'd be nice on the 24th. And Sue, if you can just figure out one of our old go-to haunts.
What time are we meeting?
How about the rotunda?
What time, John?
What do folks think? 6 o'clock?
Sure.
Sure.
Now, Chris, when you say the rotunda, what do you mean by that? I think
Point.
the Tux
John,
Point.
how long have you lived here?
Going on 20 years.
I
How
think it
about
would
the
be fun to
bandstand?
meet
How
outside.
about the bandstand?
Masco. Why don't we go with room 8? I don't know, 8 or
Room
that.
7. Room
Room
7's
7.
been cleared out.
Okay.
It has, Nancy? Wow.
Yeah, I might have to go up there and do a deep clean, but it's all their equipment is cleared out.
Yay. That was a mess last time I was there.
Oh,
All right,
wow.
so we can confirm the location, but we're the 24th at 6 is what I've got.
Okay.
Does
Yes.
that sound right?
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
And
moved.
to
Well,
conclude?
Oh, I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes
Hi,
have it.
everybody.
Great.
Good night, George.
Everyone,
Good
thank
night.
you for everything. Really, really good work.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.